I've been growing this pineapple top in my kitchen for a few weeks now, and it's got pretty good roots. Today, my new planter came from Amazon, and I found this old scrap rough ash wood. We're gonna take the pineapple, plant it in the pot, take the pot, make a nice modern stand for it out of this wood. Oh, I can't wait. Let's get going. We're going to use a jointer and a planer to prepare the rough wood. I did a 3-minute Thursday overview of these tools a few weeks back, and also we're going to make practical use of the mortise and tenon joint we covered in another video a few weeks back. I'll start by flattening one face of each of the rough boards. The wood I'm using came from an ash tree that we cut down in our yard years ago. I'm prepping more wood than I need for the project because these pieces have a lot of holes from the bugs that I may have to sort of cut and work around. With one face flat, it's time to get out the thickness planer and get the second face parallel to it. For the first pass, I'll set the height just under the thickness of the thickest board and then keep running them through, lowering the cutter with each pass. The final thickness ended up being about 7/8 of an inch. At the table saw, I'll rip one edge straight. This could have also been done at the jointer. Then I'll cut 4 legs and the 2 cross pieces to their width. My legs are about 1 inch wide and the cross pieces are 1.5 inches wide. My cross pieces are the same thickness as the legs, but another cool look would be to make the cross pieces thinner than the legs. For the height of the legs, I'm measuring the height of the pot plus the cross braces and then adding a few inches for the legs. I want the top of my legs even with the top of the pot, but they don't have to be. You could easily make them taller or shorter than the pot you're using. My pot is 7 inches tall, the braces are 1.5 inches high, and the overall height of the legs is 13 inches long. The cross braces connect to the leg with a mortise and tenon joint, so I'm going to lay out the mortise and tenon on their respective pieces. I'll be using a dedicated mortising machine, but in my mortise and tenon video, I covered a number of different ways to cut these by hand. So have a look at that. The mortising machine has a hollow square chisel and a drill bit in the middle of it. It makes pretty quick work of the mortising in all 4 legs. And I'm using a 1/2 inch mortising bit here. In my mortise and tenon video, I referred to using a big fat dado stack. I think that's the phrase I used. I didn't actually show how to use it, and I got a few questions about that, so I'm going to use that method here. The dado stack is just a stack of individual blades, and the cutters on those blades are flat on the top, as opposed to a normal saw blade where the teeth are alternately beveled sort of right and left. And you can stack as many of these blades together as you need, or as many as your table saw will hold. Usually we're talking about 1/8 to 3/4 of an inch wide in total. Notice I'm using a spacer against the table saw fence. This makes sure that all the tenons are the same length, but when the piece of wood goes through the dado stack, it is not touching the fence where it could snag and cause a nasty kickback. It also allows the dado blade to stick out beyond the wood without cutting into the fence. The trick to getting a good fit on the tenon is using a scrap piece first and getting the fit absolutely right before you actually do the production pieces. The first cut we're not trying to get right away. The tenon should be wider than it needs to be and shouldn't actually fit into the mortise. Then we want to run it through again and just sneak up on that. Raise the blade just a little bit, fit it, sneak up a little bit more, fit it again until you get a perfect fit. And that is a perfect fit. It slides in to the mortise with just hand pressure, but it holds snugly. Next, I need to put notches in the cross braces where they'll fit together. And again, I'm going to use the dado stack. And notice that I'm using a backer board here so that any blowout that I get, any chips out of the last piece of wood as the dado blade exit are in that waste board, not in my production piece. And that's a pretty good fit again. I've got all the parts made. I'm ready to start assembling them, gluing them, but I want to touch on one thing. For this pot, straight legs really work. But if you were going to use a tapered pot, you might want to do something like this with the legs where you make a boomerang or a sort of a K shape out of it. This would be the time to cut the K shape out of the legs. Make sure that you've already cut out the mortise before you cut out a strange shape, or you're going to have a heck of a time keeping that leg straight and getting a straight mortise in there. Additionally, you might want to put a round over on these edges. Depending on how you want that round over to be, if it's just on the exterior, this would be a good time. If you want that round over on all of these pieces, you might want to wait until we get these things glued up. I'm going to put some glue on here, get these clamped up, and then go inside, get some lunch, come back and meet here, and we'll finish this thing up. After a fulfilling lunch of leftover sushi, I believe I've decided to put a round over on just the external corners here with a round over bit. I'll do that on my router table. I'm going to use this round over bit. It is a 1/4 inch round over bit, and this will just ride along here. You could do this in a handheld router. I'm going to do it in my router table. Now it just needs a little hand sanding and some polyurethane to protect it. And while the varnish is drying, I'll get my pineapple plant into the pot. And there you have it, folks, a modern plant stand in ash. I hope you found the video inspiring and entertaining. If so, hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is Chris Schmidt signing out from Key West.